But let's return now to our big focus this evening, farm fires in Punjab. Hundreds of crores put in to try and prevent crop burning, but no real signs that killer air pollution isn't going to be another terrible feature this year.
Despite hundreds of crores of rupees allocated, Punjab seems unable to stop farm fires, even in the CM's home area of Patiala. That too, when the number of fires are still low. The centre has allocated almost 700 crores to Punjab to provide equipment to stop these fires. But even though there are over 8,000 machines in place, farmers say they are not getting any help.
कोई मदद नहीं आई हैगी ਜ਼ਿਮੀਦਾਰ ਕੋਲ ਇੰਨਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਿਟ ਵਾਲਾ ਧੰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਹ ਵੀ ਇੰਨੀ ਮਸ਼ੀਨਰੀ ਉਹ ਇਕੱਠੀ ਕਰ ਲਵੇ ਲੱਖਾਂ ਰੁਪਏ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿਮੀਦਾਰ ਤਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਮਜਬੂਰ ਹੈ ਫਾਹੇ ਲੈ ਮਰ ਰਿਹਾ.
But the government admits the number of machines is insufficient and just a short-term measure for 22 million tons of paddy straw annually. It promises to double the number of machines next year.
We have given 8,000 machines, 300 crores. We're probably giving double the machines next year.
Despite an 80% subsidy, a farmer still has to pay over 20,000 rupees for a machine. That's too steep for many farmers. Agriculture expert Devinder Sharma says cash handouts, not machines, are the answer.
सब मशीनें आने के बाद भी मात्र 4% प्रॉब्लम को एड्रेस किया जाएगा. 4% किसानों का जो स्टबल बर्निंग का इशू है उसको आप एड्रेस कर सकते हैं. तो बाकी जो 96% उसको क्या होगा?
Farmers in Punjab are defiant. They are going ahead with the burning of their stubble despite the government imposing a ban on this. Now, how is the government going to deal with the situation and prevent these farmers from doing this practice is the big question. In Jalalpura, Zafar Iqbal for NDTV.
All right, well, we told you about a new report and bring you a few more points about this, and then we'll be talking to Dr. Ravindra Khaiwal of the School of Public Health at PGI Chandigarh, one of the authors of this report. The basic point mentioned over here is that farm fire pollution may almost double by 2050 if it's not controlled now. The amount of farm waste burnt has not been reduced in the last 3 years. The farm waste burnt in 2015 was 111 metric tons. In 2017, 117 metric tons. 2015, 111. 2017, 117. Last year was the highest amount of farm waste burnt in India, and the consequences of this are terrible. If crop burning continues at this rate, then pollution will almost double by 2050. We'll come to that report in a moment. I'm joined also by Hiren Jetwa, aerosol remote sensing scientist at NASA. Thanks very much, Hiren, for being with us. Dr. Arindam Datta, senior scientist and fellow at TERI, and Dr. K K Aggarwal, the national president of the Heart Care Foundation of India. Ultimately, this all boils down to our health. That's why we are talking about it. Hiren, to you first, what are you seeing as far as farm fires this year are concerned across North India?
Vishnu, just today morning, I accessed the latest satellite data of the vegetation index, which can act as a proxy of the crop production. Remember that the amount of crop burning is proportional to the amount of crop production, right? If there's more crop, there's more crop waste subjected to burn. So when I look at the data today morning, and using the past data of past 15 years of data, my analysis says that we are going to see about 14,000 fires this year during October and November over Punjab and Haryana. Now, in comparison, it is quite comparable to what we saw last year, but it is still lesser than the total number of fires that we saw in 2016.
So in other words, Hiren, what you're trying to say is that all of these measures that have been put into place so far have not been successful. And by measures, I'm talking about reaching out to farmers, trying to explain to them that, look, there are alternate ways of disposing of crop stubble. It doesn't need to be burned. Thus far, on the basis of what you're seeing so far, satellite imagery, that doesn't seem to have worked.
Well, that is possible when the advanced machinery is provided to every farmer. And what I've heard from the news here and also in the social media, that the reachability of those machineries is quite limited. It's less than 5% so far. And I'm not blaming the farmers here because, remember, they have only 2 to 3 weeks to switch from rice crop to the wheat crop, and they want to clear the land before they sow the wheat crop. So, in the wake of no alternative to the crop burning, and so they go, they are just
Okay.
go for the very
Hiren,
cheap,
I'll
very
come back
cheap,
to you in a
cheap
moment.
way of.
I want to go across to Dr. Arindam Datta, who's actually with me. You know, what Hiren is mentioning is that we could end up with 14,000 fires this year, almost identical to last year, not as bad as 2016. What does that mean for us? What does that mean for you and me living in North India?
Yeah, particularly if you will see last year's crop burning data and last year's situation in month of November, particularly in Delhi, then the pollution level, particularly the particulate matter level in the Delhi, was crossed to the severe level, and it was in the emergency situation in Delhi.
Yeah.
Say something around 7th of November to 9th of November during this period. And what is the situation this year? What it is indicating right now? Main crop burning locations are in Haryana, and if the same trend is going on, again we are going to face the same problem this year.
And the trend is going on,
trend
right?
is the going same trend.
That's frightening.
It is almost the same trend.
Dr. K K Aggarwal, bottom line over here, if we see that level of pollution in the air, and I'm talking about just in the next, what, couple of weeks, right, when
Yep.
this happens,
Yep.
I mean, it's right upon us. What does this mean for people, you know, across large parts of North India? It's not a Delhi or NCR specific issue. This pollution spreads all across. I'm talking about stubble burning. What do people need to do? How bad can it be? What does it mean for their
Sure.
health?
See, when PM levels, 2.5 levels, above 10 are abnormal as far as WHO is concerned. More than 25 are harmful as far as UK is concerned, and more than 60 are harmful as far as India is concerned. And today we are talking about 300, 400, 500. Even at this moment, I'm sitting in Asiad village, the PM 2.5 level is almost like 170, 180, which is very high in the night. So any PM 2.5 level or PM 10 levels, more than 100, no sports game, no marathon, more than 200, you can't jog, you can't walk, you can't cycle, and more than 300, you are supposed to be indoor and make sure that your indoor pollution is not as bad as outdoor pollution. If your PM 10 levels are high, you can have asthma, which can precipitate respiratory problems, and if your PM 2.5 and PM 1 levels are higher, you can have heart attack, you can have paralysis, you can have high blood pressure. Now we are only talking about particulate matter, but we also need to check sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, volatile organic compound, benzene, aldehyde levels. Now all these levels, if they are higher, they are going to harm the body. No way our people can afford to have for years together living in a polluted atmosphere. The process needs to end. The Supreme Court needs to intervene, the central government needs to intervene, otherwise we are going for a trouble.
Hiren Jethwa, just to come back to the satellite data, which you study very closely, I just want to repeat to our viewers what you mentioned to me. We are headed to 14,000 fires comparable to last year, or are you already seeing 14,000 fires? How can you predict fires? Or are you looking at a trend?
No, the 14,000 fires, that number is the total number of fires that we're going to see in October and November together for 2 months. And the estimation...
on what basis do you calculate that? On what basis do you calculate that?
The basis is I'm using the vegetation index data, which can tell you about the crop production. So if you, based on the past data, like 15 years of seasonal data, if you correlate the total number of fires and the vegetation index, which is again a proxy for the crop production, that can tell you with a good precision that what kind of like what intensity of fire season that we are going to see this year.
And just for the benefit of our viewers, what is vegetation index?
Well, in a technical term, but it just tells you how green is the land cover. So if there is more crop and crop reaches to the maturity level, you would see a high number. For example, over Thar Desert, you would see a very low number because there's not much vegetation there. So here I'm using the vegetation index as a proxy for the crop production. And my analysis says that this year we are going to perhaps see about the 11.8 million tons of rice crop production based on this vegetation index data.
Right, I see what you're trying to say, and so therefore, Arindam, if we have this 11.8 million tons, right,
Yes.
of crop which is produced, then I think what Hiren is trying to say is that this amount of stubble, there would be a proportionate amount of stubble which needs to go. What if I were to argue that we've put in hundreds of crores of various state governments, and there is supposedly some sort of knowledge on the ground to farmers on what to do with this stubble, then why would we necessarily have these fires?
Yeah, if you look at the amount that we have spent, if I'll take for instance Haryana. For Haryana we have given I think around 137 crores this year, of which they have spent around 72 crore for the farm machineries and around 35 crores for the individual farmers farm machineries, and remaining 21% only for the education of the farmers. Even 21 crores. So
too little, too late. Bottom line.
Too little, too late. Yeah, that is. This is first they required the education of the farmers, that how they will manage the crop residues and why they should not go for the burning of the crop residues. Because the farmers is having a hunch that if they will burn the crop residue, they can manage the crop residue, they can clear the land perfectly, and they can go for the next
Okay,
crop.
I just want to very quickly go across to Dr. Ravindra Kaiwal. He is the author, one of the three authors of the report which I had referred to earlier on, which says that farm fire pollution may almost double by 2050 if not controlled now. Dr. Kaiwal, thanks very much for being with us. How has burning crops actually become worse than what you've seen in the past couple of years?
What our report highlights that of the total crop residue generated, 24% is burned. If you look at the global data, in IPCC, they also consider around 25% of the crop residue is burned in open field. So we can say that the data itself is showing that there will be a more and more crop residue generated if we do not take action, and it will be 150 times by 2050.
But what about the steps that we hear the state government taking? Are they enough?
I think first what we feel here, or we have observed in the past, that there are significant efforts by Haryana and Punjab government to reduce the crop residue burning. However, is that reaching to the ground level? That we need to investigate further. What we see that means in Haryana and in Punjab, there is a lot of awareness being created. But when it comes to means do they burn their crop residue or not? Because there is a sowing window is very less. You know that from one crop to another crop, so they need alternative means which like technical, which include happy seeder or other thing that need to reach to the lower strata of the farmer or those who are having a very small land holding. So they cannot really go for this technology, and we need to reach out to those you can say those poor farmers.
So one final question: how bad is it going to be this year in your analysis?
This is very because we work on the data actually. So we looked at what has been in the past and what will be in the future. But looking at the government effort, and if I see the means in the radio, newspaper, there is a lot of advocacy is there. So we feel that this year the crop residue burning should be reduced. And today I was with one of the government servant of Haryana. And looking at their effort, we were really surprised, and we must appreciate the kind of effort they are taking. So similar way, I was in a meeting with some of the farmers from Punjab. they are really motivated because they understand that who will be the first sufferer of air pollution is they and their community.
All right.
So they are very keen to reduce the crop residue burning, provided they are given the alternative to it.
All right, Dr. Ravindra Kaiwal, that's the bottom line, provided they are given an alternative to it. And the question is, have they been given an alternative? I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us. It's a sad program and there's nothing to really cheer over here. But Hiren Jetwa, thank you so much for pointing out, and sticking your neck out and saying what we are headed into, because we really need to protect ourselves from this air pollution across large parts of North India. Let's just hope that what you're mentioning doesn't come true. I'm sure you would want that also not to be the case, but nonetheless, we need to be careful. Thanks very much for joining us. We're out of time. Goodbye.